All right, so let's take a look at where we left off last time. We essentially have the pickup for our character in place. So I can pick up a character, my card turns green, or this yellowish. Well, it's really green, but we had set it to green. What I want to do is when I drive up into this area, I'd like the character to appear. Um, and there's a couple things going on here. One, this area, let's see, let's go down here for a second. This house party collision area, it needs some sort of image indicating that it's a driveway or a drop off because we can't just have a white square. It looks weird. But I will just go ahead and remove this for the time being. And let's see. Think of an icon that could represent a drop off. This icon isn't appearing. You know what? It's not a sprite image. Let's see. So we need to indicate this is a drop off location. What we can do is we could just right click and then, because we are in, where's our UI here? Let's see. You can add some text here. Actually, we can add a new canvas. I have an idea here. We'll create a new TextMesh Pro object out here. So this will, let's right click actually down here and let's go to UI and canvas. I'm going to teach you something new, which is kind of cool about the canvas. Instead of doing a screen space overlay, we can do a world space. And then on this, I can go to UI and then, right click, go to UI and go to TextMesh Pro. Now you don't see anything here because if I hit F to focus, it's all the way over here. But with a world space canvas, we can actually position this onto our map. Let's make sure that our canvas is set to something like 3 so that it's above. And now you can see that it's above our map. And for the scale, I'm just going to hit, let's see, select our text. I'm going to hit R and just scale this way down and just position it here. And I'll just say house party drop off. So they know where to drop off the house party folks. And then maybe we will change the color of the text to fun house party-ish. And let's go ahead and remove that outline. We have an underlay here that's giving it a nice shadow. See that? And, you know, we could figure out other ways or stuff like that. Okay. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to, let's see. Let's have it where when I go to drop them off, they appear. So let's think this through. Like, how are we going to do this? I think the cleanest way to do this, and this will be the last lesson for this taxi cab game. We have these town people. So we have the pink blue dress character here, and we have the bearded guy, right? And they're really just duplicates of these guys. I'm not sure if, hopefully that didn't get skipped in another video. But we have this guy here, which I'm going to hit F over here. All I did is duplicated him, and I placed them here. Now what I'd like to do is on my beard guy, or really any passenger, because we could have hundreds of passengers in this game, I want to create a script called the passenger script. And because we're going to be summing up this lesson, like this is going to be the last one, this might go a little long, but let's go ahead and create a C# script here. We'll call it passenger, and I'm just going to drag it inside of here. And let's go ahead and make sure that, and we're even missing it on this one, that our both of those UI passenger, they both have the same namespace. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for this one here. And then let's close this up by hitting Control D, Control Alt Enter to clean up my code. Let's do the same thing with our passenger script. And I really love coding. Like, and some of you might be like, oh my God, like I'm not there yet where I love it. It takes time. I actually didn't like it very much when I first started. It was very stressful. I kept getting errors, things like that. But the more you do it, you'll start to see these repetitive patterns. And I promise you it gets easier. For example, like this is your probably 100th serialized field you're creating at this point. So you're pretty comfortable with that, right? And I promise you the other programming concepts come easy too. So let's make a private sprite, right? And now we know what a sprite does, right? What a sprite variable can do, store rather, and it can store sprites, images and stuff. So let's make a passenger sprite here. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this. And instead of a sprite, I'm going to go with a game object because all I want to do is just turn on the visibility of the drop-off character. So here's drop-off, game object. So what we're going to do in here is a couple things. Let me delete this out. What do we want to do with this script? Well, I just want to get the passenger sprite, and then I want to return the drop-off game object. So what this does is when they call get passenger, well, let's go ahead and write out these methods. So I'm going to do public and sprite here. Oops. I need to add UI before I type this out. I'm trying to get it so it adds it for me. Public sprite. I guess I guess I don't have to get passenger. So what are we doing here? If I call this method, what we're doing is we can return some value, and the value that we're going to return is a sprite image. So all I have to do here is type return passenger sprite, and we'll see this in action in a second. So if somebody calls this method here, get passenger sprite, from this script, all it's going to do is it's going to give them back whatever the passenger sprite script is. Now in these two over here, come on, these two, let me hit F to focus. They are not going to have any script on them. They are just there for visibility. So if I grab my beard guy here as an example, and I drop my passenger script on there, it's asking me, what is the passenger sprite? Well, the passenger sprite is the beard guy, right? It's like, what does that passenger sprite look like? So here on beard guy, I can, click on this and drag this beard guy image in there. That's my passenger sprite. Now, what is the drop-off game object? Well, the drop-off game object is this beard guy object here. And so what I can do in code is all this script is going to do is it's going to get this image of the passenger sprite, which is the beard guy. That's going to get the drop-off game object. And that's all this script does. It just returns these two images. Or, well, it returns one image and one game object. Okay, and this, again, this will make better sense in a second because we're going to be using this to turn on and off the visibility of this beard guy here. So that's all we're doing right now is once we pick up this, we're going to use this script to find whoever we pick up. So when we bump into this guy, it's going to activate all this stuff. So I'm going to copy these. I'm going to hit Control D, and I want to change some values in here. I don't want this to be a sprite. I want this to be a game object. And then this is going to be called get drop off game object. Let's make sure to capitalize that D. And we have an error down here because we're returning a sprite when we need to be returning a game object. So let's paste that in there. So let's save that. Now these are gray because they're not being called by any other script, but we'll get there. So let us go to our taxi pickup script and let's add another variable here. I'm actually going to pause the video and type it out so this video doesn't go to like 30 minutes or something. Right. Now, we have a variable here. It's called current passenger. And what is it doing? It's just getting on our taxi cab this passenger script. So it's giving us access to this passenger script here. And if you recall, both of these are public, so I should be able to access these two methods inside of our taxi pickup script. Okay, so how do we use this to actually get the passenger script from our beard guy? Or, let me kind of shrink this for a second, or this girl in the pink dress, right? So I'm going to grab my passenger script. Well, what I want to do is I want to use that same get component. Remember how we have in this start, this get component here? But I don't want to do that at start. I want to do that like anytime I collide with anybody called passenger, that's when I want to get the current passenger. So what I'm going to do is let's see, I'll do it about here. So we have all this sprite information down here going on. And so I can say current passenger equals other dot, right? Game object dot get component and passenger. So right off the bat, this is now storing whatever component that it's storing the passenger component. This is fully giving us access to whatever the passenger script to the character that we bump into. That's all this line is doing. So it's checking if we have a passenger script, and then whatever other object is, which is going to be this beard guy first, we're going to store their passenger script so we can access it. Now we want to put a null check in here. So I'm going to do if tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two lines. I'm just going to move them in here and then hit Control Alt Enter to kind of clean up that code. The reason for this is what I'm going to do is check if the current passenger is not equal to null. We're going to do this. And this is just giving us, this is saying, hey, if we don't find a current passenger and it's not equal to null, don't do any of this other stuff, which is like load up the passenger sprite image, or we have this UI passenger display. This is what's actually displaying the image. So don't do any of this if this is null, which means it doesn't have anything in there. And let's see, what else should we change? I think we should change this so that we're no longer getting this sprite. We're just doing current passenger. Yeah. So this is our new thing. So let's delete all of this. And we're going to say the sprite equals current passenger. And if you look here, let's see, we have this get passenger sprite method. And what this does is this returns whatever the passenger sprite image is on that character. So what we can do here is just hit dot get passenger sprite. So if we bump into a character and it does have a passenger script on it, then inside this passenger sprite here, we're going to get that sprite image and store it inside of here. That's what these returns do. Now what we need to do is we need to, once we get to the house party, we need to write some code. And what that'll do, we'll put it down here. And what this will do is it'll actually activate the beard guy or the pink girl. And yeah, so let's just start off by doing another if, and we're going to do the exact same thing. If current passenger is not equal to null, that means we have one. Remember, we're inside of the tag house party. And what this is doing is this is just checking if we bumped into this area here, the house party area that has a tag on it. And what's going on with my thing? So I'm going to copy some of this code, which is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to store this. I'll just write this from scratch just so you could see it. So what I want to do is I want to store a reference. I'm going to do game object and then drop off game object. I'm going to say that's equal to current passenger dot get drop off game object. So remember, all this is doing is it's just returning whatever drop off game object is inside this slot. So for this girl, for example, we're going to get, because you have to set this up for each character, we're going to grab this character here. And then for her sprite, we want to do, just grab this pink dress sprite. Can I drag this in here? Pink blue dress object. So that's the sprite, and then that's what we're going to be returning. And so once we bump into the character, this is going to be used to load it in the corner, and then this is going to be, we're going to set this as active in a second. So let's go back here really quick to taxicab pickup. And I'm just going to say, if this slot isn't empty, so how do I do that? I say drop off game object, which is this right here, is not equal to null. Oops. So that means we're checking if we dragged an image in here. That's all this null is doing. Did we drop do we have this slot filled? If it is filled, which we just did, which you dropped it off in there, all we're going to do is we're going to say drop off game object dot set active. And what do we want to set this active to? True. And remember, what set active does is all it does is this little checkbox here is whether something is active or inactive. Okay, so let's save this. I think that's it for this script. And again, if something doesn't make sense, you can go back. If you're really passionate about this and you really want to be, like learn how to make games or whatever, go back and comment this code. So this is working, which is good. So let's go back to this house. Let's go to our drop off here. And he disappeared from here. And when did Beard Guy disappear? I think it's right here. I hit destroy other .game object under this passenger thing. And that's what destroyed it from our scene. So I'm going to actually comment this out for a second. And I think I'm just going to turn off the mesh renderer. Because I think once I destroy that game object, it removed the script. Because remember, that passenger script is attached to this. So with this line commented, let's go ahead and press play. I think that's what's going to work now. And then I just have to write maybe 1 or 2 more lines of code just to turn off the sprite renderer. So we got to get rid of him still. But let's go ahead here and let's drop him off. So you can see he's there. Let's go pick up the girl. Oops. Make sure to set up collision. Here she is. And boom, there they are. So let's go ahead and just script it really quick. So the sprite renderer, which is this right here, just turns off. So he doesn't appear in the game. And then we still have access to all this code, which is the passenger code that's attached. So what we'll do inside of here is we'll just copy this section here, which is just saying current passenger equals, Kurt, you know what? We need let's see, I think we have a variable for this. Let's make a variable. Let's see, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to make it a game object. And this variable is, let's say, we'll call it current passenger object. So what this is going to be used is to just track the current passenger game object. Sorry, I know I'm getting into a little bit more advanced coding. I promise you, this is not that bad. And like I said, for those of you who are taking this class just for fun, just get this game working, all that good stuff. For those of you interested in becoming engineers, this is kind of the flow of consciousness that you're going to go through, and also, yeah, I mean, just overall, like go back, recomment the code. So I can't say that enough. So current passenger equals object equals other dot game object. So what's happening here? This is storing whatever I'm using this to grab the other game object. So whatever, remember we collide into another object and we're saying current passenger object equals other dot game object. So once we collide into this guy, it's going to, here, let's go ahead and just print to the console really quick. Other dot game object name, just so you can see what I'm talking about, of who we're bumping into. So this variable, actually we could probably do current passenger. Sorry, what I'm going to do is current passenger object is storing other dot game object. So I can just say equals other dot game object name. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to hit Control Shift C here. And I'm going to press play. So when I bump into this guy, you can see it says beard guy. Because what this is storing is it's storing the other dot game object. So when I do get other dot game object name, it just tells us beard guy. So if I bump into this girl, oh, I forgot. Remember, we have all this stuff in there to stop us from picking up another passenger. So until we drop it off. So I'm going to leave that for a second to show you. And then what I can do here is I can just do something where now that we have a reference to the other dot game object, I can do a dot get component like that. And then I can do sprite renderer dot enabled equals false. So now we should be able to hide this guy's sprite renderer. So here I have the beard guy selected. His sprite renderer is gone. He's still there, so I have access to all of this stuff. And I could drop him off. He's still gone from my scene. I can pick her up. Now let's make sure, I'm going to hit Control Shift C so you can see the name. So let me clear these for a second. See, now I can pick up pink blue dress. That's this, it's now holding a reference to her. And I can go drop her off. Cool. Now in other games, because part of the assignment, the midterm assignment, is you're going to have an opportunity to pick one of the 3 games that we made and either spruce up the level, create a main menu, like to kind of really finish this game. So you could have it where you write a script where, and honestly, I'm a total fan of helping if you get stuck, but if you're creating another script called win, lose, or win scenario, and then it just prints to the screen you win if you picked up both characters. And you could do that with a variable that has a running total. So anyway, so I'm going to leave this one here. We've got pretty much the makings of an entire game except the main menu and a win-lose scenario. We could have the losing scenario be a timer, right? Like if you don't pick up all the passengers within a specific time period. And you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. I'm just going to code all that stuff for you and put it as part of the tutorial because I hate to leave you without a finished game and just a couple mechanics, which, the mechanics of this game is the pickup. So we'll do a timer in the next lesson. I was saying this is going to be the last video. Sorry for those of you who kind of want to wrap up this game. I think this game's awesome. And yeah, so I will see you. Hopefully we'll have one last lesson for this and then we'll move on to another game.